Good afternoon, everyone. This is your KASP update for February 23rd, I believe. It's a very busy Tuesday on a very, very busy week. Let's dig right in with probably the first and highest profile meeting of the day. Senate Education had a hearing on Senate Bill 208. This was a bill that would basically prohibit biological people born biologically female or not female from participating on female sports teams. A lot of conferees, very limited, pretty passionate. We were at the end as neutral on the grounds that our members have not specifically taken this position, but we have identified a number of concerns with the bill we think the committee needs to consider. Most of them had already come up by the time I was the last one to testify. Scott, why don't you talk about what you thought? I know Leah was in another committee and you kind of had the opportunity to observe. So what were kind of the highlights of what the debate was today between the conferees?
Well, thanks, Mark. I mean, as you pointed out, it was a pretty rapid fire testimony. Over 20 people testified within an hour. Folks were limited to 2 minutes, and it was passionate on both sides. I mean, obviously, the proponents of the bill think that having people on girls' teams who were born as biologically boys is not fair to the female athletes. On the other side, of course, is folks who are concerned that this kind of bill kind of targets transgender people. Transgender kids have a very high suicide attempt rate, and our bullying is a big problem. And so they think these kinds of bills just represent, more issues for transgender kids. So, it was 1 hour of lots of passionate testimony, and the chair didn't give an indication of what she would do with the bill. Of course, one of the primary sponsors of the bill is the vice chair. So I would expect there would be some kind of vote in committee, but there was no indication given at the end of the committee, unless you heard something.
No, and I'm just going to say what was kind of unusual, but another mark of the times is that since there were no time of questions, Chairman Baumgartner basically said, if you got questions, give them to our committee assistant. She'll email them out to everyone, and conferees, you can email back and you'll have till a time certain tomorrow. So I don't know whether we'll get any questions or not. Just for the record, our testimony really focused on, number one, the concern that this could put school districts in a bind between interpretations of Title IX, which at least there is some direction indicating that districts would be violating Title IX if they do not let transgender girls or women participate. And of course, the other side arguing, no, this is fine under Title IX. And then a set of kind of procedural issues, which is simply, so who's going to check, and when would you be challenged, and are you going to require, because it's a lot more invasive and potentially expensive to require hormone tests, gender tests, some of the things to verify, and you don't know when someone would be challenged. So we frankly did not so much get into kind of the more emotional whose rights are most at risk, and just sort of talked about some procedural issues we thought the committee would need to deal with. Leah, while that was going on, there was also a hearing on a bill in House Education Committee.
That's correct. I was monitoring the hearing on House Bill 2031, which would say that if you offer financial literacy as a course in your school district, you must allow students to count that as part of one of their math graduation requirements. USA Kansas appeared as the main opponent to the bill. We joined their testimony, and G.A. Bowie did a great job just kind of summarizing why our organizations oppose this bill, because essentially we believe that again, it's as we've had the discussions around civics education and computer science in the past, this is really the purview of the state board and not the legislature. And so naturally, the folks who brought the bill, or the person, Representative Thomas, who brought the bill, disagrees with that, and there was some testimony to that effect. But GA did a very good job laying out our opposition to the bill, and the hearing was closed, and the the chair did not announce when that bill might be worked.
And then at 3:30, we had a fast-moving and unusually brief hearing in K-12 ed budget. Rather quickly, the committee announced they were going to have a hearing on Senate Bill 61. This is the Senate version of the expansion of private school tax credits that, in a different form, House Bill 2068 has already passed this committee. The chair had a hearing just procedurally, even if it's the same bill. If it's a Senate bill that comes to the House, they have to have a hearing on it to send it to the floor. So most testimony was simply in writing. There was one oral proponent from a national scholarship group in this area. We ended up being the only oral opponent. Again, a lot of other people had written testimony and really kind of said, probably not going to change anyone's mind. We have prepared like a new kind of what we call sort of a fact sheet or questions and answers that we shared with the committee, and then basically, expressed a lot of passionate feelings on both sides, want to be respectful for everyone's views. We know proponents, they believe this is good for kids. Opponents believe it's at risk for kids. And then we're just trying to make sure the committee has all the information and the legislature to make their choice. Clearly, this is going to be making its way to the House floor. So we're strongly encouraging you, whatever your views, and KSB's views, of course, and most of the education organizations are against this. You need to be talking to your House members and getting them to begin to commit, because a vote is going to be coming up on this. The committee was supposed to meet tomorrow to have a briefing on the issue basically around teacher negotiations. Committee meeting for now has been canceled, but they might come back to work on the department budget, which was supposed to happen today, or that could wait till Thursday. So stay tuned. This could change. I would quickly note that tomorrow the Senate Education Committee has a hearing on a bill to change the bond and interest aid formula. We'll be supporting that bill that we think, again, it's a little bit technical, but basically it unless we change the law, there's less and less equalization, and that's bad. And then finally on Thursday, Senate Education has a hearing on Senate Bill 235, which would require all schools to offer an in-person learning option by March 26th. Hopefully the bill will not be needed by then, but we're going to point out, if this goes ahead, it could raise some unintended consequences that I don't know whether is intended in the bill, and also talk about the local control issues. Finally, and again, anyone jump in for things I'm forgetting. Also on Thursday, there's a hearing in Senate Commerce Committee on a bill that would basically prohibit any adverse job or employment actions for a vaccination choice. We think it's designed to say you can't make people get vaccinated if they don't want to be. We don't have really a problem with that. Our intention is to be neutral, but note that there could be, again, some unintended consequences around the way the bill is currently worded. So that's kind of what we're looking at the rest of the week. I think, guys, am I forgetting any other bills?
No, I just wanted to go back to your testimony today about Senate Bill 61. You provided some additional information, kind of a Q&A kind of thing for the committee. That has been posted on our website. If you go to Advocacy and then scroll down to Positions and Testimony and look for Senate Bill 61 in House K-12 Education, that information should be there. And that's a good thing for our folks to read, perhaps before you contact your member of the House of Representatives.
Right. Would welcome you to do that. And just note that the deadline for committees to meet and work bills that are not exempt is Friday, and at this time there aren't very many committees meeting Friday. Next week the House and Senate will be basically on the floor the entire time, working through bills that have come out to see what they're going to pass over to the other side. So we will be back again tomorrow afternoon. We're not quite sure of the time because we're not quite sure what's happening in the K-12 Budget Committee. So stay tuned on Twitter for that, or just look for us later in the evening.